Wagwan, everybody. Welcome to the Disa Fimi History Podcast, where we'll be speaking about history and as well family history and how history relates in terms of Caribbean people for the present as well as in the past, and how in the past, what that does and brings forth for what we are going through at present and what we can learn from our history, from our family, and take that moving forward. So I do hope you enjoy the podcast. And if you like it, please ensure to subscribe, like, and review. Thank you. This is part 2 of my conversation with Carlston Waters of the Caribbean Family History Group. So let's have a listen.
It's what we're trying to do in our exhibition, which is you get back so far and then you hit slavery. And then that's and if you want to, how I have got a image of a slave register in St. Kitts that I took because the archive person gave me permission to let me look at the original book. I had the slave register that came to the UK, the original book they had in St. Kitts. So I took some pictures of that, and that was the 1817. And in these images, you will have, this has been typed out, and it has been, as you can see, that's a session I gave. So the fives, and this is what I discovered, and which we have used ever since as a group. So, and I liked it because for point 3, you'll see why I like it. So step 1, you write down what you know. So you search your own memory. You ask family, friends, and elders. You gather information from the home, family, Bible, etc. You write and record on family history forms. Mm-hmm. So I teach. I'm very into pedigree charts and family group records and teaching that. So that's step 1, is you write down what you know. So step 2, you decide what you want to learn. Step 3, you choose the source of information. Step 4, you learn from the source. Step 5, you use the information, and then you start it all again. And that's all you do working back. Sorry for catching a fly. That's all you do working back generation by generation.
Yes.
So I loved it because once you've written down what you know, you obey the rule to start at the information you want to find closest to you. You go back generation by generation. Don't jump back. You try and work back a whole generation at a time if you can. So you follow the fundamental rule of family history. Start at the closest generation working back. And then you ask a question. So the question might be, and I can think of somebody when I delivered at a workshop at the slavery, I delivered a workshop at the Slavery Museum in Liverpool. And there's a woman there from Jamaica, and she wanted to find her father. So her question was, can I find my father's birth? Can I find my father and his birth? Yes. And then the reason I love this 5-step process, because it broke down all of the records and things you could look for to get information from into 3. You will either be asking a person, or you'll be looking at a record, or you'll be using an object. Yeah. So the person could be like me when I used this in a workshop, when I'm trying to find my great grandfather. All I knew, he made a journey to New York in 1910, and his nickname was Big Sam. So I can find nothing else about him with the big name Big Sam. I can't find him on a shipping list with the name. So I've got to ask a person in that research, in this first phase. So I asked all my uncles and aunts until I found the aunt who did know his first name. So that's choosing a source. Then you learn from the source. So from that source, I learned his name. Yeah. Because I'd interviewed the persons and whatever else. And then I'd use the information so I could then write on my pedigree chart, Big Sam, cross through, Isaac. Yes. Isaac, Daniel. So then I've used the information, I've evaluated it, I've organized it, and then I've shared it, and people say, yes, I remember that now, whatever else. And then I started it all over again. I've written down what I know. I know a man called Isaac, Daniel. Okay. I decide what I want to learn, and this is where the detective, and so I guess the next thing in family history is approach it with a detective mindset. Use the crumbs you've been given. So the crumbs I'd been given was the nickname, which I then used to get to his real name. The other crumb I was given was a journey to America in 1910. So I looked on a shipping list for an Isaac Daniel. So that was then looking for a record of my 3 options. And I was clear I was looking for a record. And then I found a record, and the record had him on a shipping list. The shipping list said he was 22 years and 2 months old. He had come from St. John's Parish in Nevis. The relative he left on the island was a man called Samuel Daniel. And so once again, I'd learned from the source. I wrote the information down. Oh, on the shipping record, it also had the year that he went. He traveled in 1910. It also had roughly when he was born. Luckily for me, he arrived 2 months before a census. So Ancestry kindly threw up him on a census record, and I had even more information about him. And found him in a family group that's connected to my family. He was boarding, as we all do. We go to a new country and we tend to live with family or people from the island when we get to that country.
Yes.
And that's what happened. So and in the workshop that I've delivered, or I've got used to delivering, I show them how I used this process 3 times to get to my great-grandfather's name, his mother, his father, his date of birth, where he was born, starting with just 2 clues. So that for me was a key developmental revelation when I came across this material, and that clarity of simplicity, and just say, you will keep using this approach throughout your research, wherever you get, however deep. So for example, a person that you might ask as a source of information might be an expert. You might say, I know nothing about slavery. Who does? And you go and ask somebody about slavery, and they'll give you information, and then you go through the process again. And so this has been for me a key, and we use this as a group, and we teach people as this is an approach. And I find that people that get it, it makes the whole process easy, because no matter where they are, what do I know? What's the source of information? Or what do I know? What question do I want to ask next? What crumb do I follow next?
Yeah.
What source? Which person? Which record? What object? So somebody with an object, if you know, I've got this medal that my grandfather had. I've got no idea what it's about. Here's the number on the side. You take it to an expert. Oh, that's a World War I medal. And that number on the side will take you to the records that they had. Many of the records for the Caribbean, the West India Regiment were destroyed in the First World War. In the Second World War, they were destroyed. But there are some there. But that number on the side of that object will take you to information, if you're lucky, that will give you loads of information about your ancestor. So that's what I love about this approach. Person, a record, or an object, everything falls into one of those. And it's using this approach again and again and again. And that's, by the way, that's who started it, if you can see.
Yes.
It's no longer active, but that's who started it. So any copywriters out there, I am not trying to rob you of anything. I'm getting not paid for this, so just so you know.
No, thank you.
How is that now? I'm getting carried away here. I think I'm losing sight of the question. So
no, that's okay.
Talking.
That's okay. That's not a problem. That's actually, it's very good. And as you said, it's a process that can be used over and over and over again to assist people to be able to re-get them back to, okay, what am I searching for, and how should I again think of it as you have here, in a 5-step process, which will help, which is great. Now, currently, you guys your group has the family name project ongoing. So how is that at the moment? And is it mostly just online?
When you say a family name, do you mean from our website?
Yes.
Okay, that is we list on our website the research names that we're researching.
Okay.
It is a members list. We don't just put on the list of someone saying, put this name on. And I guess we're doing it that way in part because it means we've researched that individual. We've got that name through research. So if somebody notes it and says to us, I'm looking for this name, and I note that you've got that name on your website, then we can talk to them or direct them to the individual member who has done that research, and they can see if they're linked. And I think that we're not unique in that. Other societies do the same thing, but we're of a size whereby if somebody sees that name, and I haven't added all the names that I'm researching, so that's something that this reminds me I need to do. If they see a name when they're looking on our website, they can email us and say, look, I'm doing this research. That's a name I know. Which island is this? And then if that person is in the group, we will just refer them to them, and they can be helped to see if there's information we can provide them with to help them out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And as we close out this discussion, what other things that your group is right now currently working on that you would like to share to the listeners?
So as I said, we are working on an exhibition. Just to backtrack, because you did ask very quickly, you asked about COVID. So with COVID, we made a shift from the Caribbean Family History Group to Solihull in Birmingham, because it was a physical group and people tended to come, the odd person. But then with COVID, and we became members of the Family History Federation, the like an overall federation that's over here for all family history societies. And they nudged all of their members saying, what are you providing online during COVID? And we went, oh, because everyone went to sleep thinking, oh, we're not going to have meetings for a while. And they kind of nudged us. So we said, oh, so we discovered Zoom like other people did. And then lo and behold, people from other parts of the world started saying, oh, great. So we've got a Trinidadian member. We've got an ex-member who used to be in the UK who lives in Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis member. And we've got members from the States. We've got a member from Australia. So it's the whole, for every bad thing that happens in the world, good things can come of it. So the group has been evolved, and now we're in a new world, I suppose, where we're looking at how to do meetings either that are online and face-to-face, or a combination of the two. So that's where we're at. So just to say that the group has evolved such that it has, what can I say? It's evolved. So we've got two membership research groups. So there's a Barbadian research group, and there is a St. Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla research group. And we had one of those meetings today before this. And I guess that will evolve. We don't have a Jamaican group, even though that would be a natural one to have. There is a break-off group from our group from years ago who just wanted to focus on Jamaica, and they still go, and they're still going. But we have some really significant, maybe because the Jamaican records are fully online, and they're more accessible, whereas you have to be in family history centres to look at St. Kitts and Nevis records, and that's why we started that group. So we have these groups, but they're members. They're members only groups. You have to be a member of the group to be part of those groups. And then we put on exhibitions each year, and we're putting on an exhibition this year in a few weeks' time. It's a library-based exhibition. Copyright does affect whether we can show that online. So it tends to be, but we find it a good exercise. Just going on in terms of what we're doing. So we have those research groups. The group, as I said, meets on the last Saturday of the month, except for August and December. And we're putting up an exhibition looking at how the beginnings of navigating yourself through the period of 1807 to 1838 and just after, when you get that far back. And I am that far back with my research in a couple of lines. So I've got a vested interest in that time, but that's what we're doing at the moment. And we intend to develop, so today, just to give you an example, from the research group, trying to develop best practice. And we're trying to explore, how do we do this? And today, I asked those that were present, a number of them to research, one from America, one from St. Kitts and Nevis, and others that were in the group. And I said, look, I'm doing something on slavery, and these are my ancestors in the slavery period who are right near. So I've got I've got a married couple in Nevis. He is baptized as an adult in 1832, and it says he's a slave on the baptism record. She is baptized in 1836.
Hoped you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and write a review for the episode wherever you listen to your podcast.
What was amazing was this collective discussion, drawing on the expertise of these other people, having them pick up something and quickly go over and research it and bring it back to the discussion, I was helped to get back much further than I thought I would get back in the 20 or 30 minutes of looking at it. And that was a revelation. So yeah, that's something that we're going to be exploring and developing and tightening up and get better at, I suppose, what we can learn from the things that we do. So that's where we're at the moment. We're still smallish, but growing as you do. You know, we're sort of about 40, 50 members now. Yeah, 30 to 40 members now, I think, as paid up members. But we've got about a database of about 200 people that we email. That's the nature of who we are. That's what we've been about, and that's what we're about at the moment. And it's an enjoyable journey.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Thank you so much for coming on, Carlston, and giving up your time. I really do appreciate that. And I'll put the link to your group in the show notes so people can be able to connect if they need to.
That's fine.
Since most of the listeners tend to be from either the UK or Europe. So thank you again so much for your time.
That's fine. Okay.